Hey family, it's Kendra Rochelle here. Join us every week on We Probably Right, where we talk that talk about everything you ever thought but didn't say. Do me a favor, like us, follow us, subscribe to us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google. Because baby, we're everywhere you want to be, just like.
Thank you for joining us again. I am Kendra Rochelle.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Farrelly Speaks.
And we are the last of the Millennials. We Probably Right. So today we're going to be doing our second episode where we're going to be covering some really good pop culture topics such as DMX, Derrick Jaxn, McClurkin, and Nash. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Let's start with Derrick Jaxn. Kelsey, I know you have some real strong feelings about that. Let's get into that.
I definitely have a lot of strong feelings about Mr. Derrick Jaxn. And before we get started, I want to state my claim.
Okay.
Derrick Jaxn is absolute trash, can juice, bottom of the barrel. The reason being, case in point, sips water, gather yourself, clutch your pearls.
I gotta represent for the men.
No. So, over the years, if you don't know who Derrick Jaxn is, he has found his wealth by pretty much starting this whole movement of black men don't cheat, right? Mm-hmm. So right now you are what I consider to be the gold standard of what, the perfect gentleman man is. Now granted, yes, I do know that as humans we are fallible, we all make mistakes. Mm-hmm. A mistake is, oops, Kendra, I stepped on your foot. That's a mistake. But to actively keep stumping on your foot, that's a choice. So Derrick may have cheated, maybe one time, a one-night stand, bad moment, but to actively keep doing it with several women is a problem for me, because he has actively made, videos saying men who cheat are incapable of loving and they have no business damaging that woman. If he is going to cheat on her, he needs to just leave her alone, yada, 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 only to be married and to be actively cheating. So marriages survive infidelity. However, I think the part that I can't get over, although it is not my marriage, is the fact that you sought out to deceive us in this platform. Your first video, he got out, was like, I did not have any sexual contact with this person, whatever. Then next thing you know, a nice blogger puts it out, and now you drag your wife out of the laundry room, like, baby, come and sit and talk to these people.
Out of the laundry room.
She did look like she was doing laundry. Like, she looked like she was around the house doing stuff, only to find out that's who she is, and that's fine. But you brought her on this camera knowing that this is our first time seeing her, and she is supposed to sit here and support you through your mess. And I didn't agree with that. That is your war that you have to fight. And now you have made a casualty of her, because we have never, over the 10 years that we've seen him on social media, we have never seen this woman, right? And the first time,
10 years?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a very long time. And over the time, we've never seen her, but the moment you present her to the world is in defense of you and your indiscretions. For you to then say you have been having sex with women, you have been doing this, when you tell women, don't put up with a man who cheats, but you want these same women who found out that you cheated to forgive you of cheating.
It's so, where I struggle with that is messenger. It's like, cigarettes cause cancer. Don't smoke. The message is still valid. I'm the messenger, and you won't want to receive it because I'm smoking that cigarette, but it's still valid. And I can say, yeah, I shouldn't smoke, because I had an auntie say I shouldn't be smoking them, but y'all don't need to start. Yeah. It doesn't change the message. So I think some of the stuff he has said is true. Like, don't stay with a man. Now, if his wife didn't heed the messages that he put out, then that's a different story. I mean, I don't think he absolved himself. Yes, he tried to lie.
There's a difference from trying to lie opposed to outright lying.
Well, I mean,
you don't halfway lie.
Tomatoes. There was a lie, or
let's not dismiss that.
What was the lie?
The lie originally was that he had a non-sexual relationship with a woman. Then the blogger dropped it, and then he came back with his wife to say, all right, now I want to put it on the table. I did have a sexual relationship.
I guess I'm confused about I thought the first video with him in a burgundy shirt was the first video of him saying that he was guilty.
No.
That was the second video?
Yes.
With the wife?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was the second
that
video.
was the first video, I guess, that got deleted.
Yes.
But yeah, there was a first video. I never saw it, but we heard the clip when we listened to the Breakfast Club, so it was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So here, my problem is you want women to drop their man if they're cheating. And no, woman, you should have more self-esteem and, be able to walk away from this. Meanwhile, you are the antithesis of what you've been presenting to the world. Okay. And here is where I have this issue. Because now, your wife, who, beautiful young lady, now you have put her on display, and you know how these social media streets are. They're ripping her to shreds about this bonnet. I think it's an apparatus. I would not say it's a bonnet. They're tearing her to shreds about what she should look like. Who is she? Yada and the yada. And instead of protecting her by saying, I dishonored myself, I dishonored my family, I dishonored my wife by lying, cheating, and doing this, I expect X, Y, and Z. Instead, because she is of the Christian cloth, aka the cult, as Farrelly would call it.
Yeah.
Christianity is a cult. I'll be the first to let you know here.
Right. He preyed on that because she made it clear that I left, right? And Derrick Jaxn has now, in this situation, presented himself as the classic narcissist. And ultimately, he has exemplified so much toxic masculinity and master manipulation, all balled up into one psychopathic package.
He a psychopath?
Yeah,
really?
all of that. Yeah. Because
wait a minute. No. Let me, because that's a lot.
It is.
I think you're angry.
I'm not angry.
Yes.
Because what we have to not do is dismiss this, right?
No,
I don't think anybody's attempted to dismiss it. I don't think nobody's attempted to dismiss it. I think he did what a lot of men do, or a lot of people do. They get caught, they lie about it, then they tell the truth. They go on a campaign. The wife or the spouse is there with them. They say they're going to, fix it or whatever, and they're going to stand beside them. And I don't think he's any different than any other man. I don't think we're trying to dismiss it, but I don't think it's as he's a psychopath. I think he's done what a lot of men have been allowed to do.
But
a psychopath, yeah. But
no.
Again, I'm just not easily to forgive because he was the standard of you have to cut this person off. This person is like gangrene to you. If you have gangrene in the finger, you got to cut off the whole hand to save the arm. But instead, it's like, oh no, we should forgive him. Like, absolutely not,
but
sir.
who said that though? I think that's what you're channeling, because nobody said that.
Listen.
And his wife had an option to say, "I'm going to."
But
stay
here's
gone.
why I don't think. No. I don't think
she had an option.
She had an option.
She
However,
left, she could have stayed gone.
However, in her beliefs, and this is where the master manipulation piece comes in, and he knows what he's doing, because she said, "I was gone." And she said, I said that if this happened again, which, lets us know that it has happened before, that I was going to leave and I'm not coming back. Right? And she said, but I saw a change in him. Yeah. So when she starts to talk about the change, it was, he started to delete the numbers. He started to do this, and he found God. Boom. Now we know that is her love language. Now some people it's touch, some people it's money. Yeah. So for her, who has been, for her to have been, her speaking her language, she's been indoctrinated in this church thing where it's, it's probably embarrassing to have a divorce. It's, don't leave your husband through thick and thin. And that emotional trauma and torture and that trauma bond, she has bonded, to him over that trauma. Like, we've been through so much, we got to stick it out. So the minute he said, I found the Lord, I started resenting him at first. Like, why would I do this and this and this? And the minute he said he found God and came back, that's when she came back home. So now she's saying that this is a spiritual warfare amongst her relationship, that people are out to get her. This is the attack of the enemy, and he is trying to destroy their relationship. The enemy is your husband, sis.
I think she said nobody can fix this for Derrick but Derrick and God. Nobody can save him from this. I can't save him from this. He did what he did, and he has to take care of that. She didn't absolve him of that, but I think in any relationship, if your husband or your wife or your girlfriend says, if for us to stay together, I need you to start listening to me, I need you to start cooking around the house, you're going to do whatever you need to do to appease that person for that relationship to continue to work. He didn't do anything different. If she was looking for a man that was going to church and to get rid of the numbers, I'm going to do it because I want to keep my wife. Is that manipulation, or is that I want to keep my wife and I shouldn't have did this shit?
But and Kelsey too.
Manipulation for 500. Manipulation for 500.
You're a married woman.
Uh-huh.
And how easy are you to just let your marriage go if your husband cheats on you?
So now we're into a different pot, right?
No. It's the same situation.
So at this point, I probably would say bye.
Really?
If it were to this. So
if you were not him
public.
cheating, but him cheating and it being on social media and everybody talking about your business.
So my trauma is public embarrassment, right?
Okay.
Now, what I think the principle of it is, for me, would be you have condemned women for sticking with their husbands who cheat. Mm-hmm. You have actively pushed that men who cheat have no genuine interest in you. They do not care to protect you. They do not honor you. You should leave.
Right, okay.
Why would I stay with you if that is a message you want other people to believe?
Because there are two things here. There's your profession, and then there's who you really are.
Mm-hmm. And who you are is a liar, a cheater, a deceiver, and a heartbreaker.
No. Because we know doctors who tell their patients what they need to do to become healthy, but them in their personal lives can't get themselves out of a paper bag. Right. Even though they have the knowledge, they're not applying it to their situation in the same way they would prescribe it to somebody who's not themselves.
Right.
So what I think Derrick is a victim of himself, just like most people who are to stand on these tall boxes and say what you should do, what is right. You have to make sure that you live a life that's clean, or else all the good stuff, people have a hard time filtering the two. It's like, well, he said a lot of good things, but he didn't do them himself. Did it help me? Yes. Did I become a more confident person and find out what they did? Yeah. But he didn't do that in his own life. So maybe the wife needs to take her husband's advice that he's given to the public, right?
Absolutely.
But she made a choice. So I don't think she's a victim in this situation.
No, she's not a victim.
She's definitely made some conscious choices because we've seen her go on social media several times to defend her marriage in the very Christian way that we do, because everything that happens to us is the devil.
Exactly. And you can't give him the way in your life. Sometimes, baby, the devil is the person
but I don't
who
think
is
she blamed the devil for Jaxn. For Derrick Jaxn. I don't think she blamed.
She said that this is a spiritual warfare.
I think what she meant, it was the backlash of it is now, because now she's also being picked apart. Like she shouldn't even be his wife. Like why she out here looking like this and she's too safe? Like now she's being attacked. So there's a whole nother drawback to it. But I don't think she meant that what Derrick did was the devil that made him do it.
Yeah, that's church talk. I can interpret all of that for you.
Let's go, because
it's just church
I am, I think her first name is Boo Boo, last name's the Fool. Okay.
She can't say Derrick did cheat on you.
Derrick did not, but what I am.
But that's really I'm going to pray it right that your husband never does anything to embarrass you, because we got to work through that.
We do.
Because I think, and this is probably a whole nother show, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. We'll talk about childhood triggers. Yeah.
But to them do us part. Like, what is the point of marriage if you can't get through the hard times? Because they come, and I think I'm going to applaud her. Whatever, Miss Jackson, whatever, kudos to you, because this is the perfect time for you to leave. She's like living a reality star's life. You filmed this 6 months ago, and now it's just playing on TV. And now you done healed from this stuff, moved on, made your decisions. He was like, "Oh, was I stupid? Like this doesn't make sense." Because now
you're reading it. You're reading all of this feedback and taking it in, and now you sitting there, comparing yourself. Like, oh my God, no, I don't.
It's a lot. So if you ever hear this, Miss Jackson, congratulations to you for sticking to what is real in your real life, because social media can be a pressure that most people can't really deal with. And they'd be like, I gotta go, even if they wanted to stay and have a small
and most of the comments admitted that they would stay if it was not public.
Me too, yeah.
that they will work it out if it
there
was
were
not planned.
there were some things that the more that came out, it was just like, you really just don't want to be with this woman.
That's not true.
I don't think
know
that.
lots of men.
There's a lot of men that cheat, and it has
Let's
nothing
go
to
back.
do with them not wanting their wives.
Let's go back to my great grandma, who had 14 kids, and when my grandfather died, we found out he had other kids the whole time that was the same age as most of my other aunts and uncles.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed, took care, provided, made sure everything was taken care of. And I think it's so much more to unpack when we start talking about marriages, traditional marriages, new age marriages, millennials in marriages.
Yeah.
Because if you bought into that traditional system, and it's really warped because we're in the middle of two different generations.
We're jamming in the middle.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give this pass to
no pass.
What we're gonna say is, okay, well, men did this, but if she did the same thing to him, he would not be able to take it. He'd be somewhere sick about
it. Men are fragile. Men are fragile.
So we're supposed to
fragile or not. That's a choice.
Right.
That is a choice, and a man is 9 times out of 10 not going to choose to stay with you after you've cheated on him.
Even if she did call on Jesus and said that it was a spiritual warfare.
Right, but women do, and
less.
that's our choice.
We'll leave for
They'll
less.
leave for less.
Right.
Yes.
Because the thought.
So then we need to talk about why do women accept more?
Woo!
She's not accepting more.
She is.
But if we're talking about, if we're comparing men to women and how they will react to this situation.
You're a minority.
I am. I'm definitely a minority.
Historically, women stay through all the hard stuff. Oh, I stayed with you through this, and knowing good and damn well that nigga was not gonna stay, not even through half of the first time.
Right. And there is, the same way. In our last episode, we talked about these upfront conversations. Like, are you down to F or not? There are certain deal breakers that you have to talk about before you get to the table and say, I do.
But that's the thing. Sometimes we can say something is a deal breaker, but we never know how we're going to truly respond unless it is happening. Because I can say all day long, let me walk in on somebody having sex with my man, I'm going to kill them. And then I walk in there and freeze up and like, I'm hurt, like I can't even move.
Right.
We don't know how we're going to respond when something happens. We can wish that we're going to respond a certain way, but
we know Killer K
is snapped.
If you with Killer K, you know what she rocking with in the truck in the dirt. So you already know what you're gonna get. But everybody who's not from Merchant Road,
I am not from Merchant Road. I am not. My college was on Merchant. But what I will say is, there are options, right? Mm-hmm. We all have options. Mm-hmm. Where I fault this man, and it's almost as if she's forced to, kind of like the woman who doesn't want to embarrass her boyfriend who springs a proposal on him. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so again, you sheltered her, you threw her to the wolves to save your career by bringing her, parading her. We never seen her. There are athletes who intentionally shadow their wives from the social media, outlash, because she might not fit this exotic look or whatever, which maybe that's what Derrick did in the beginning. But now, because you've created your own mess, you bring her to the forefront to say, well, my wife forgave me. We didn't even know you had a wife. You could have left her in the laundry room where she was.
Well, we did know. He posted his marriage photos 2 years ago when he got married. Mm-hmm. So we knew he was married. He don't post her a lot. No, he doesn't. But she does tag him a lot, and he's in a lot of her photos.
Right.
Which is understandable, because that's not his business.
That's not his business, and she's not in the limelight.
Right.
So he's the public figure. Deal with your mess out front. But again, I still have this thing where you have shamed black men to saying, once you make a mistake, you're out with the garbage. And now you're redeemed. And then you're going to try to peddle me this little book talking about how to heal through hurt. Boy.
Cause girl, you need to learn how to heal. You gotta heal through.
Me and Jesus will talk about it. Me and Jesus will talk about it. But you can't help me heal through nothing, because the stuff that we're hearing is just like, oh wow, sir.
Yeah. You're
garbage bag.
So talking about healing from the hurt, currently, like right now, let's talk about Donnie McClurkin. Absolutely. And I know, Pharrell, you have some some feelings about Donnie McClurkin and some remarks that he made a few years ago. But basically, if you don't know, if you haven't been caught up, Donnie McClurkin did a interview on TV One Uncensored, where he basically talked about his life. But a piece of that interview, Donnie talked about his struggles with having had relationships with both men and women, and how I guess he can't reconcile peacefully with himself, with who he really is. So he has found peace in knowing that he'll probably forever be alone. So we did watch a little bit of that, and I found it to be a little bit sad, but I didn't know the history behind him condemning gay and lesbian people at a summit. Was it a summit, or?
It was the COGIC, Church of God in Christ, annual convocation.
Yeah. And so then that kind of ties back into, I guess, for the church, the message and the messenger, because they're supposed to preach against homosexuality, and the messenger is struggling with homosexuality, whether he's acting on it or not. He's struggling with it, but he's still putting out this message that you know, the cult deems as the right message. So I guess, how do y'all feel about Donnie McClurkin and this new story that's out?
Donnie, I love your music. You know, one of my
Donnie
favorites.
said we fall down.
That wasn't even his got song says Jesus, Jesus.
You trying to get a deal?
At the name of your name, every knee shall bow and tongue proclaim. Makes great music.
Yeah.
And we know gospel music comes from a place that there's usually some pain.
Yeah.
And there's a story and a message behind how people can get up and show up. Because even for me, as a child, church was my safe haven.
Yeah.
And that was the place that I knew my community was built. And then it was like, oh, I think he's cute.
Yeah.
But what I was taught was that this is not okay. You're going to die and go to hell. And while there were so many children in the church to unwed mothers and fathers, like, y'all was out here having sex.
A lot of
Yeah.
Right? But when it came to this other thing, because you didn't understand it or you didn't identify with it, it was demonized. And the church harps on things that they don't understand.
Yeah.
If they can't, a while ago, it was the reason why they have lap scarves in church is because the preacher was a freak, a freak hoe.
Looking up the skirt.
And then you ain't want what was up under her skirt to entice him.
Exactly. You couldn't have your toes out. You had to be covered because the man could not control his own actions.
And we'll talk about that, you know.
That's a whole other thing. And so we make so many edits to ourselves to make sure that the person who's at the head of the church or the spiritual leader is taken care of. But while they're demonizing these people, you have all these people who run your churches, who are your musicians, who are your minister of music, all these folks who like men, same gender, and who like women. Because let's not, the lesbians are much bigger in the church than the gays.
I didn't know that.
Because girls can pass.
I didn't know that.
We know a lot of them, right? And it's much. Nobody ever thinks about it.
Right.
It's not something that you clock. But if me and the drummer start spending a whole bunch of time together and people think that I'm sweet, they're gonna start asking questions
opposed to,
like, we just friends. Like, we friends, and the world just doesn't allow humans to fully develop before we start putting on them our own insecurities and thoughts about who they are going to be or who they should be. And sometimes it's out of place, out of love, because they don't want you to go through stuff. But it's like, no matter if you're black, you're gonna experience a whole bunch of stuff, right? So just your sexual identity or who you have sex with should not be the thing that they're always preaching about, because that is not. Well, until recently, they made the argument that it's killing the family. Right? That it's you can't reproduce, so it's not natural. But Donnie McClurkin, took an opportunity as a homosexual man, and I'm not alleging anything at this point.
Allegedly.
has been irresponsible with his platform, to me,
Okay.
If you're a person who holds his same beliefs, he was well within his rights, because this is tearing our churches apart. And most of y'all probably had your man leave you for another man, so it's probably why you broke up too. But that ain't had nothing to do with you either, because you knew he was gay before you got married, and you chose to deny it because he's a good man. He can provide, and that's what they tell you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It'll go away.
Just pray about it.
You can. He just ain't had the right stuff, baby. That's not it. Because the water that I give, you won't thirst no more.
He didn't want that.
Baby! Not the water you give.
He didn't want no water. He didn't want her water.
Thank you, Dottie Peoples. The water I give, you won't thirst no more. And that thirst can't be quenched from another place.
Yeah.
Because it's a totally new experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think the sad part about it for me with Donnie is that you are somebody else internally. Like, even trying to be with a woman, because he said he didn't know what to do with a woman. He didn't know what to do with her. But because you're so deep into this life that is not going to accept you, and you've built this platform, you can't live in your truth without being rejected and cast out. So you settle for a lifetime of loneliness.
I wouldn't use the word sad, because I think this is an active choice that he is making.
Oh no, it's always right. You always have a choice.
In life, you always
sad. Yeah,
you always have choices. And as we, alluded to in our last episode, that when you are in the church, there is a certain caliber you have to live up to. And I think that should he come forth and live in his truth, he would risk losing all of that. Then it would be, so are you more concerned with your platform or living in your truth?
Well,
so
I think that has some validity to it, because what he said was he goes to what's safe, and that's his music.
Right.
So without his music, he is nothing. At least that's how I took it. Without his music, he's nothing. So if he loses that and then also does not have a mate, who is he?
I think when he says, I will lose, my safe place is music, I think the vehicle is the mega church that he's a part of. You'll never lose your music because you're the one who makes and creates that. Right? So stop allowing the church to pimp you out, but you live in shame and in guilt because of what you feel, because you want to use this vehicle to get your music out. When ultimately, maybe the church might suffer if you leave, if they shun you. Yeah. So what we find ourselves doing a lot of times in church, we create ourselves in this image of what the church wants, and it kills us internally.
Right.
And so really, the church might not ever find another music, director of music of that caliber. Should he say, I'm gay and this is my truth, either move around or I'm going to go to another church and pick him up, he'll still have that vehicle.
I think that's a sweet notion, but that's not how that works. I think it's a sweet notion, but it's not how it works. And people have choices all the time, yes. But we also cannot pretend that the life around us, the people around us heavily influence those choices that we make, to sometimes feel like we don't have a choice. Like, it happens all the time. And if he gets shunned by the church, like, that's his identity. Yeah. Bigger than the career, that's his identity, is church. He is church through and through. And who he is doesn't match what he's been indoctrinated with.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's so nuanced, but he's at an age and a place of financial stability where he can be himself, and people will accept him. Right? Because, not to bring him into it, but Bishop Carlton Pearson, who was the person who launched many people into the major platforms in gospel. He was known as he started the Azula revival. So every year, major people, that's where Donnie McClurkin got his start. But if you watch the show on Netflix called When Sunday Comes, you'll see the entire story. He began to say, hell doesn't exist.
Oh, I think I do remember seeing that.
Yes. Hell does not exist. This man was like Jesus on earth, right? And now he relegated to a church, a really small congregational church.
Yeah.
I have cashed at him, and he has responded like it is so bad, but he is free. And so one of the things, the caveats for Donnie is that if you ever see this video, you've never experienced freedom and liberty when you walk in who God says you are, and that your sexuality is not the entire portion of you, but it's a part of your identity. And it's just so sad that the church,
it's
the Kojic church, because that's who he's a part of. I don't know if he's still a part of Perfecting Faith, but that particular church is very, very strong on homosexuality. But you can see Andrew Caldwell, Kojic.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see the symptoms, and it's all over the church. And so that's why if I feel so bad for people who are stuck. And thank God that I had something in me that allowed me to look beyond what I was being taught to really search and say, okay, this doesn't make sense. This is what somebody taught me. So, Donnie, I'll keep praying for you. I don't wish you no ill harm, but you do need to apologize for the harm that you caused, because you're grown enough to know what the real truth is.
Yeah.
Because the older I got on my way to college, it's when I found out that all the elders in the church was drinking.
Yeah.
Right? But they were doing it in private.
Yeah.
Among people who could take it and understand that drinking doesn't mean it's a sin.
Yeah.
But we are taught things as a sin. It's this whole construct, one, to start creating discipline.
Yeah.
So if you look at any organized religion, there are these things in place that are strict.
Watch the movie Smallfoot.
And rigid. That are strict and rigid, that help you kind of get you in the mode of thinking, this is how we do stuff. This is the only way we can do stuff. If I don't do it this way, then da 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 da.
The beginning foundations of a cult.
Right? Indoctrination.
Yeah.
Right? And it's how you indoctrinate people, is that, because after a while, you will not have to tell them it's a sin.
Yeah.
They will do it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you watch, there's another documentary called Axiom, and they were doing all of these things, right? And it wasn't even a religion. It was a success pathway thing for people who were looking to become something great in the world.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. It's
I started watching.
It's crazy. But that's how these things work, and people start reducing themselves, losing themselves, while still ministering to the world. Yeah. And here you go. You did all these things, gave your life for the church and for God, and you can't have what you wanted.
So let's spin this then. So have what you want, talking about Niecy Nash, and she's now married to a woman. And so in watching that Red Table Talk, her first husband was a pastor. She was a pastor's wife. And then she talked about she married her first husband because she needed to be saved. She had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of trauma going on, and he saved her. When she married her second husband, she was just looking for a partnership. And then that relationship no longer served her. So they got a divorce, and then by way of a friendship through the young lady who most people were saying she sang at the wedding. They cleared that up and said she did not sing at their wedding.
For point of clarification, she sang at the wedding on the TV show when she got married.
What's the difference?
So even though she did her wedding special on TV on the show Claus, she sang on the show Claus, not her real life wedding.
Gotcha.
Yes. So now they are married, and she talked about she had never even thought about a woman. She never was attracted to a woman, and Gammy, who is Jada Pickett's mom, was saying how she's been curious, but the shame and the guilt of it has prevented her from acting on it. She's had three-way conversations or threesome conversations with her husband, but now she's saying, well, I'm too old to do it now. So even Niecy was saying, when she had the love connection with her now wife, there was this this thing that made her nervous to let people know because of everything she had been taught. And
she felt like she was the martyr for Black women. I think one thing that stood out to me, a few things stood out to me, especially Yammy's comment about, you know, we've all had, all the women were able to identify with having a moment where they could have been sexually fluid but did not act upon it. So that was interesting because I think everyone has had that idea like, oh, she's beautiful. Now, whether to act upon that is something different. But Gammy went as far as saying, I definitely wanted to act upon it because I think this will be fun. I think this will serve me well. However, the guilt and shame that I have learned around sex would not allow me to move further.
Or the normalization of people's opinions determining what you will and won't do. So, quick story time with Kendra. So, I was almost gay one time, right? Now, I've never been attracted to women, but when I was in college, we had the conversation, me and some friends, and I was like, okay, well, you know, I'm open, whatever. And so it came down to it, and this lady, lady, you know, she
stood.
Approached me.
Correction.
And I was like, I'm not ready for this.
So what weren't you ready for?
Any of it. Like, I was not attracted. It was not, like, I just was like, she was like talking to me, and I was just like, I'm sorry.
I see words with another lipstick.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I was almost gay twice, so.
Duh.
So, one more time, it's a charm for her. See, 3 times a charm or 3 strikes you're out.
No, this is it. I'm done. So there was a lipstick situation, and you know we were talking about kissing and stuff, and I could not bring my lips to fall upon hers, and I was just like, no, I'm good.
You never play kiss the girl in the club?
No.
Oh wow.
Well, it does happen, especially if you're trying to get somebody off of you or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
It has happened.
Definitely,
it happens.
My maid of honor, my maid of honor in the club, because this guy was like all up on us. I was like,
so
give me a kiss.
Turn kiss or y'all just pegged?
No, it just pegged.
Oh, okay.
Save it for the team. I was like, that's my girl.
Your friend too.
I was like, this is my woman.
She had a touch of gay. That was it.
For the moment. For the moment.
So okay, let's wrap this. Bring it back. So one of the things that stood out with Niecy was that she was saying how this was the first time that she felt seen. And I saw a lot of comments about that online and people not really understanding. So I was like, you know, talking to Kelsey about it. Let's look up what being seen, what does that look like in a relationship. And so there was basically in a relationship is feeling heard, that your voice matters. If you're somebody having empathy for you, seeing you through your emotions, just being there. And so that's so sad that in your life of relationships, the being with a woman was the first time you felt valuable. And so it's like, I understand it because I've been in a relationship like that where I didn't feel, I wasn't heard, I wasn't considered, how I felt about things it didn't matter. It was just, this is what it's going to be. And as long as I'm providing for you, nothing else. You don't worry about anything, down to my career, what I wanted to do with my career. Like there was a plan. There was a plan for that. So like, do you feel like you've been seen before in your relationships?
I do. I definitely have seen it. And I also want to note that in our conversation and just kind of mulling over it, when she made that comment that Jessica made her feel seen, what I've noticed is that when she backtracked all of her relationships, she always had a common connector to that person. So the first one, her mother had been shot, and she's seen that, and she needed the trauma for that. So that was a trauma bond. She needed to be saved. The second one, she just wanted a partner. Both of them were like, both of us want to get married. Let's see what this thing do. Let's try it. And maybe in that time frame of when her marriage was dissolving, some things may have spilled over, and now she needs to be seen. Now, although she wasn't actively searching for it,
Yeah.
that's what she found in that person.
Yeah.
However, I believe that you were able to identify that in that woman for her to say she has never had any sexual attraction to a woman,
Yeah.
but this woman gave it to her, which is, not odd to me, but it's pretty, different, because as a woman, we are nurturers by nature.
Yeah.
So we are touchy-feely. We can zone in on that warmth, whether you say you need it or not. So was she in a vulnerable state where Jessica, just being who she is, kind of was in tune to her, and to, in tune to that natural instinct to say, oh, wow, girl, you doing your thing. And maybe that's what she needed. So am I saying that this is not real? I'm not saying that. But what
Are you?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But what I am saying is her patterns of finding things, once that honeymoon phase of being seen, and I feel like that validation, I don't believe that you give anyone, you're responsible for your own happiness upkeep, right? You never give anybody the key to your own happiness. That's your responsibility. The same with validation. You are responsible for making sure that at all costs, if nobody else validates you, if everybody else in the world dies and you're left here by yourself, you're supposed to have that. You're supposed to be able to validate yourself. And because she found that in her, is that going to be enough to sustain that relationship? Being that Jessica has only been with women, right? And so this is her first relationship. And we know lesbian relationships can be very, very fickle, very volatile at the same time. Some, based on conversations
can be like
right. But if it is a person where just kind of listening to them, they definitely are in tune with each other. Definitely hope they survive forever for the rest, because they were just really so gooey, and I was like, ugh.
I don't think Niecy is a forever person.
Right.
I've seen people comment, marriages should only last for 10 years, and then
you get a reboot?
No, let's come to the table and say, hey, is this still working for us? Then let's keep
work.
going. If it's not working, let's part ways. And I think one of the things that she said, that she didn't have an issue leaving those relationships because she wasn't happy anymore. And she wanted to show her children, you don't have to be somewhere when you're not happy. You can just go. And she said she didn't have anything bad to say about her partners.
Right.
They were good people to her. It just wasn't what she needed anymore. And I think when people start to redefine what relationships look like for them, more people would feel the same way.
Right. And I 100% do not fault her for shopping around.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty awesome that she's shopping around. And the same thing. So I applaud Niecy because she's doing what we see Kim K, all the Kardashians do. Yeah. So here it is. It's like, girl, do your thug thizzle. I just don't want it to be that you are forming another trauma bond and building love on that, right? Like, be that because I, want to. This is what I want. This is who I love. Yeah. It was pretty, cool when she said that she's totally oblivious to the LGBTQ plus Niecy community, as she would say. I wasn't coming out of anything. This is not just something. This is just something I found myself attracted to her. Yeah. And it happened. So how is she going to, after a while, once it's, phase off, is it still, can she pick up and move on? Absolutely. Kim K does it all the time.
No, she's her third time, so I'm sure
third time's a charm.
She knows what to do, but congratulations, Niecy Nash.
We love you, girl.
Just bits. I think that everybody should do what she's doing. Mm-hmm. Right? Do what serves you. Yeah. And I think she said on the interview was that I'm no longer living
for everybody else. And that was what spoke really loud.
That is the thing that this probably was in her the whole time. And because of how she explained how her mom and her grandma, like what's inside of us eventually comes out. And sometimes it suppresses who we really are because of the indoctrination. And it took her, I guess, 40 years to figure it out, right? That, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. And one day, I'm actually okay with people being disappointed with who I am. And I think a part of that has to do with her level of success in life.
Yeah.
Because some people can't afford
they can't
to be ostracized from a support network.
Right.
And so that's a really thing to think about. Like for me, it was once I left from my mama's house, I didn't care what nobody else thought because I could provide for myself.
Right.
And as a person who works with college-aged students, when they come to school, be gay, wear your hair, do whatever you want to do. But where you gonna go for spring break? Do you have to go back to your mom and daddy house?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to put them wigs in the closet
and take the earring out
and go back and respect where you need to have shelter because you can't come live with me.
Yeah.
So you have to think about your safety and all those things. But once you get to a point where I'm providing for all of y'all, they'll deal with it.
Yeah. I think when she spoke about, I think she was able to tune us as just regular, you know, the outside world, the court of public opinion. But once her mother finally came into grips with who she was okay. Because her mother was not okay with it at first.
She still wasn't until grandma told her to leave.
Her grandma told her to leave them kids alone. And that's when she was able to, you know, move along with that, because I think she does, you know, hold her mother to a higher esteem. So I'm happy that they are happy. I want them to win.
Yeah. So in sad news, and also tying into childhood trauma, you know, currently DMX is in critical condition in the hospital, and basically, you know, it's an issue that stems from childhood trauma. So, you know, being abused at home by your mother and her boyfriends, and then being out on the street and finding someone whom you look up to like a mentor, big brother, and them introducing you, taking advantage of that relationship and introducing you to what will be the curse for the rest of your life. Before your mind is even developed, you have an addiction that you have to fight. And then you have an addiction, and it's combined with fame and endless amounts of attention and endless amounts of money on top of what we see as a mental health problem, which, you know, we don't really speak about. And he's spoken about it in passing by naming the personalities or the other sides of him. And now, you know, to see him perform on the Verses with Snoop was amazing. I loved that Verses. He looked healthy. He had got a little weight on him. He wasn't drinking. And, you know, to now know that he's in a hospital from a overdose and in critical condition, basically in a vegetative state, is so sad. But those are unchecked traumas that manifest into addiction and mental health and just adulthood issues that you can't really recover from. And I hope that he does recover from it. But, you know, these all been signs since he came out as an artist.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll tell you, Earl, one of your biggest fans. After I snuck to listen to your music, because it was church kids and Mama wasn't having that. She threw away my Ludacris CD after I had her buy for me out the mall, which was already bootlegged. And she was like, "What is that?" I was like, "You bought it." So she threw it out. So I really loved what I loved about you from the beginning was your ability to be in two spaces as a church kid, a pastor's kid. You pray, and that was like, oh, I rock with you because I have this dual mind where I can go from Jesus will work it out to, you know, WAP in a playlist. So I rocked with that and helped me just to see somebody who's not a Christian show me you can still have your faith, you can still exist in the world. And you just put out some really good music because the Rough Riders on those bikes was the thing.
Everybody was in the hood popping willies. Okay.
You know, I was like, we gotta have that. And so I just want to shout out because if you don't know about DMX, the artist, he's had 8 studio albums,
Earl Simmons,
24 music videos, 46 singles, over millions of records sold, and just one of those people who is a symptom of the music industry.
And do you want to know the real cherry on top of this?
What?
He is what brought our parents, their generation, into rap music. Nobody's parents was rapping until
drop.
No.
Remember when y'all were at school?
When y'all thought, when everybody parents said they was gonna we were making them lose their mind up in here.
Yeah.
He is who brought our parents onto the rap scene. My mom was, y'all won't make me lose my mind. And he's like, girl, if you don't get out of here somewhere. But I say all that to say, Earl,
Yeah.
we praying for you.
Definitely.
DMX, we love you. You used to be my dog. You was in my left titty.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. But right. But to really, really talk about, and to witness his account.
Yeah.
Because he has been able to accurately account where his missteps were.
Yeah.
And to say, I have a problem.
Yeah.
I hurt for him when you actually seen, like, this man sold millions of albums. He was very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
And to know that should he expire, which I pray is not
Yeah.
going to happen right now, he's going to expire broke. He has nothing, like, people around him enabled him and used his addiction to bleed him dry. And I think that is a thing that we do oftentimes in the African American community.
Yeah.
If it is of service to us, we'll give you whatever it is that you need, knowing that that's what fed his addiction.
Yeah.
But now that he's, down and out, we throw him out like a pair of dirty drawers, right? And here it is, the difference between, just like with Hunter Biden, when we were talking about this, where was his level of intervention where we could have saved him from hurting himself? Because we know that most of the time with most African Americans, when they become dependent on drugs, it's because of some sort of mental illness. It now becomes an addiction, an illness, even though it may not just be mental, but now it's an illness. Why don't we have the resources to intervene early enough to prevent these things from happening, right?
Well, I won't say, that we can blame it on resources. First, we have to even just accept mental health exists in our community. Like, because everything is prayed away. That's how they are.
Prayed away.
They'll be okay, or they just being crazy today. Like, we have to get over that to even, like, begin to help somebody. Because we don't. We just ignore it, feed it, and keep on praying.
I think we ignore it and we misplace it. So think about, I have a family. I come from a family of addicts. So there are certain things that I know. I probably have an addictive nature, so I won't pick up drugs. Father was a former alcoholic. So there are certain things that I'm sure is in my DNA that will easily have me on the wrong path, right? But I have family members who, when a family member comes around, we adjust our lifestyle to that person, opposed to addressing them to say, no, you got to sit here and keep your hands on your lap. Not, y'all hide y'all purse, lock the doors, because out of fear that this person is going to take something to feed their habit. It's like we dismiss and we adjust and make ourselves uncomfortable to make them feel okay, opposed to addressing the issue that little Sally Ann is strung out on drugs, and here's what we need to do to intervene. We need to talk to her, get her resources. Most of the time it's like, oh, y'all know she crazy, just go ahead, if she want to be in the streets, they'll throw them out or allow them to stay, but not really give them the resources to get to the next level or even to start getting clean. Now, I've never come from a household where we had locks on our personal doors, where hiding food or hiding electronics. I've never had that. But I've had friends who did have to deal with that.
Well, it won't for drugs in my house. Well, not my house. I'm not saying that because I'm a big lad, not my house. But I have a family like you had a story past, and your point about what they did not do. I think we get to speak from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Very much privilege, because when that happens, they did what somebody else did, right? We may have gone to school, we may have researched, we see different things, and we can say, oh, you need to be in an outpatient clinic, or you need to go stay for 14 days of detox. White people do it, not all, but those who have resources, financial resources, can say, okay, here's an option. For us, it's like, we're going to lock the door because I need to protect what's here, what I work hard for, and that you don't get it. So it's really not about you getting well, it's about me maintaining
what I have because I worked so hard for it.
This stuff just goes so deep.
It's so deep.
About about slavery just keeps showing up in different places. And no, we're not playing the victim. We're not blaming everything on slavery. It's just so many things about our ability to survive.
Yeah.
It's what that is entrenched in. And unfortunately, we don't have the luxury to always throw a life raft out to somebody else, because you're in a different kind of drowning situation, and I'm also drowning.
Right. Yeah.
And so I can't help you.
Right. Yeah. But then it's also like what I call Band-Aid mentality, because I remember having a conversation with my mom one time about a family member, and I was like, I think X, Y, and Z might have some type of autism or something, and the response that I got, even after I explained why and these are what I've observed, ain't nothing wrong with them.
Right.
It's very dismissive,
and I'm like,
because they don't know
something's wrong.
And they've gotten accustomed to it.
We can't always say that.
Because I had an uncle who died from
I can't say in this situation
and we
that
never helped him.
There was no knowledge, because my mom has worked in mental health for 30 years.
I just think it's the embarrassment of admitting it. A lot of times that we don't want to admit that something is wrong with one of our own. I
don't know, because we talk about your ass.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the fact of not admitting it.
We will talk about it.
It's helpless, right?
Very much so.
Even if you know what needs to be done, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Sometimes. But that's where some people...
We can say that, though.
We can say that, and then we'll get stuck there because no one wants to move past that, because who's going to pay for it? But you don't mind dogging that little baby out or whoever out in front of the family, opposed to saying there are free services to help them get...
I don't know that.
Because you would rather sit around here and major in the minor and talk about them instead of trying to figure out how to help them.
I mean, I get the sentiment of what you're saying.
Right. So, but what we can't keep saying is they don't know. You know how to get.
True.
Wait. You didn't know how you was gonna get your STEMI until they told you on the news, and then you figured out how to go track it when you were gonna get it.
Because that impacts you.
Right.
Because if I'm not the person who's impacted by you being an alcoholic.
So that's where
what about it got nothing to do with me?
Right. But now that's where we got to get back to this thing of taking care of each other. So where we have to care enough about, hopefully, I'm
a millennial. I don't know my neighbors on either side of me. And my neighbor over here take my trash out every Wednesday.
Sure do.
Terrible.
I met my neighbor for the first time after 2 years of being here because somebody got stuck in my yard in the middle of it. And I still can't tell you his name.
You have got to be better.
What you're saying is lollipops and sugar rolls.
It's not. It's an active.
It's not. Do you know your neighbors?
I do. Do
you know their names?
I don't know their names, but I know them.
So you don't know them.
So I've lived there. No, listen. So I know a few of my neighbors. I don't know all of their names, but I've lived there the longest, and most of my people rotate in and out. So I know them by face. There are a few who are remaining who I do know their names. And one of my neighbors, even close enough that when he was out of town for winter break, I collected his mail.
And don't ask me to do that shit. The U.S. Postal Service will stop your mail coming.
Well, no, his packages.
They will hold your shit too.
They will.
Don't ask me this neighborly this is the whole point of this show. Because
take care of your community.
This is my community.
Yes.
Right? My community is not the people next door to me. Right? Because, the last of the millennials gets to break down these things and talk about them in a very different way. And I think my friend Kelsey here is very much a Gen Z. That's where she gets her glory from. And I'm not a Gen Z. I don't know. But I have such a very different perspective, and that's why the show works, because we can share. But as a millennial, honey, I don't care about your packages. I don't care about your name, because then that's more something.
You didn't even care enough to say thank you to your neighbor and get them a little card to say.
You don't know that.
Did you?
No. I have the
cards.
Did you? I have the cards.
Did you?
How long have you had the card?
I had the card since December.
Exactly.
It is now April.
So tomorrow I will be putting a card and sit on his door.
Because we have applied this pressure.
Yes, because it just
because that neighbor believes in taking care of community. Like
no. That's not what it is. Because none of these people have knocked on my door ever to introduce themselves. First of all. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't know when you're home.
No, listen, I believe because of the previous owner, because when I moved here, when something big happens on the street, people come out talking like, oh, hey. It's like, yeah, because we take care of each other on this. We watch out and we look. And I was like, oh, that's nice. But I'm benefiting from the owner of this property, not because somebody. It has nothing to do with me. So we all operate off the rail. So,
right.
I mean, it's Black folks. There are free resources if no one has ever told you.
Yes.
Lots of them.
You can, just like you get social services,
and
food
stamps,
all that stuff. You can get
bus
the same
passes.
social services for that loved one in your family. They do not have to go without help. They do not have to go without care.
I will say that all social services are not created equal.
True.
Depending on where you live, all resources are not available. You can walk, and this is formerly working in social services. There were a lot of resources that we did not have that the county adjacent did, and we had to turn people away for certain stuff. So it's not always, well, you know where to go get this. Why don't you? They may not have it either, depending on where you're at, or the program could be so backed up you can't even get in.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And what I will say is, be determined. Take care of yours. The same way if it's something that you need and you want bad enough, you're gonna figure it out and take care of yours. Because I'm gonna take care of mine.
All right, guys. So this concludes episode 2, and we have had a good time talking about pop culture today. Again, you can always find us on all platforms as we probably right. Everywhere.
Spotify,
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Anchor,
Apple,
and Google. We Probably Right, and you can always email us at weproblywrite@gmail.com if you want to ask us a question or have any suggestions for a topic that you would like to see us talk about. So thank you again, and as always, we probably right.